Hey guys, AuspiciousAussie here, and welcome to episode 3 of Local to Global, here with the CWC, of course, the Canadian Wrestling Coalition. Now, the previous episode was an interesting one. We obviously found our first ever champion. As you can see here, we got Topher Smith, our current CWC World Champion. Still a little bit interesting that it's... When it popped up, it didn't actually say title. So what I want to do quickly here, let's go to CWA for a second. Have a look at their title. So yeah, there's essentially says the exact same. It says CWA World. So that's interesting. Okay, I guess I don't know, it seemed weird from that last episode. Anyway, since the last episode, I didn't show you this, but as you can see, we finally got up to 2 popularity in Ontario, which is really good, because obviously we're actually making progress. Still a little bit confused about the whole popularity increase that we didn't get on our sort of monthly pay-per-view show. I feel like that was kind of pretty weird, to say the least. You know, we didn't even get a popularity increase in Ontario. So, yeah. Obviously, I'm essentially pre-recording this episode before the last one, well, after the last one, but it has been about a day or two since then. Anyway, we need to advance, so let's get into the next show. We've also got a couple of signings, as you can tell by the title of today's episode. And we've got those 3 guys potentially coming in. So let's see. Hopefully a few of them will accept our offers and essentially get straight into the company. Because I feel like we do need more numbers, because we're starting to get to the point where we're going to have to, you know, double up on matches and stuff like that. Alright, so we actually got all 3 of them. We got Taylor Kidd, who's not too bad. We got Kamikaze, who I'm sure a lot of you will be pretty familiar with. As you can see, an incredible high flyer. 98 flashiness there as well, which is pretty impressive. Very impressive. So he's coming in. He'll probably be a main title competitor, I would say. And then finally, we are essentially being reunited. If you watch the Road to Glory series, we had Canadian Crusher pretty early on as well. So we're going to bring him in. And of course, we won't be paying him any travel, which seems to be the biggest issue we have at the moment. I'm not exactly too sure how much travel would actually cost, but at this point, and the sort of financial situation that we're in, I feel like we really can't be pushing ourselves too far into debt, because obviously that is it's the first real problem that you do face. And by real problem, I mean sort of like a large problem that can potentially end your game and, you know, essentially make your company dissolve. So, you know, that's the main thing we're doing here. We're doing, what, 5 shows per month, just to try and get that popularity up as high as possible. And of course, with that, we'll be able to get in some decent sponsorship money. And hopefully we'll be able to stay afloat. At least, I think you have about 1.5 years to get yourself out of debt, which is usually the sort of grace period. Alrighty, so we're about to get into the next Coalition Wrestling. Alright. Backstage incident. Once again, Murray Firth. Still proving to be a bit of a problem backstage. And we've also got an incident here with our sort of number 1 prospect, I would say, in Marcel Lafleur. And yeah, spreading rumors with or about Virgil Voss, which is unfortunate as well. Alright, let's do a cheeky rib on someone. Let's go for our champion, Topher Smith. Unfortunately, nothing doing there. We're expecting 28 fans as well, so that's slowly starting to creep up, with our popularity increasing as well. Now, we are still building towards our next pay-per-view, or next event. So I think I want to maybe try and do another tag team match for our main event. Obviously, doing tag team matches, it makes things more interesting, but it's also going to cost us more money in the long run. Anyway, let's do Virgil. Let's not do Virgil. Let's have a debut for Kamikaze, and he can team up with Americana Jr. to take on. Let's go with Marcel and Spencer. Or maybe let's have another debut, and we'll go for Canadian Crusher to team up with Marcel. That could be, it could be pretty beneficial. He's got 20 popularity. Not too bad. I guess the real question is, does he have the stamina? That's pretty low for a 20-minute match. Let's give it a try. I mean, we're early on in the series anyway. It doesn't really matter too much. Let's have Marcel be the victor. Americana can lose, because I don't really want Kamikaze to take the pinfall on his first show. We'll also give Marcel a tainted victory, so essentially cheating to win. That's not a bad main event. Alright, so up next, let's go with our champion, Topher. And I think he can take on Murray. Hopefully Murray's not going to botch or anything like that. It's worth noting I have turned the injury frequency down to low, which is essentially what I do on every save that I play. It just feels too high and too common with the setting put on medium. So just in case you were wondering, I did do that at the start of the series. Alright, so that's a nice little win there for Topher. Again, it's non-title, but we're still just trying to build up his popularity. Because at the moment, Marcel is actually more popular, despite not being the champion. And I guess our final match on the show, let's go debut for Taylor Kidd, and he can take on Spencer Edmund. And yeah, surprisingly, despite Spencer's young age of 20 years old, he's actually like a main eventer or a star for us at the moment. He's very good, so that's essentially the reason why. He's got some pretty decent stats for a 20-year-old. I'll show you here once again. As you can see, obviously, really good charisma, star quality, but those sort of primary skills there, for a 20-year-old, they're very impressive. Also got 62 basics, relatively good psychology there, especially for his age. Yeah, there we go. We need one of the matches to be storytelling. We'll make it this one here. And then we'll chuck in a couple of angles as well. Let's go for maybe Marcel. Yeah, and Canadian Crusher. We can actually use his Menace. Let's go Marcel, Canadian Crusher. So Menace for him. Entertainment there. Give it 8 minutes. I think we'll also add in Canadian Crusher to... I kind of want Canadian Crusher to be Marcel's sort of bodyguard. But that's obviously probably going to happen a little bit more in the future, simply because the roster is fairly limited. Hopefully they have good chemistry together in a tag team. That'd be pretty perfect. Alright, so let me just chuck him into this one as well. Actually put Kamikaze in there as well. Because like I said, he's going to be considered. We can also chuck in Taylor to this angle here. And what we might do is... what would Taylor be considered? I think he's probably... What's his popularity? 17, that's not too bad. I wonder if we could have a look. Let's go to roster. And go by perception. So who's a major star? Wait, everybody's a major star? I guess because we're an insignificant company, everyone's considered a major star. So I guess what we can do, let's use Alexander Robinson. Let's go for Topher. And let's have Alexander Robinson, and I guess he can introduce Taylor Kidd to the company. I feel like that's a pretty good way to introduce a young kid, you know, with a really solid angle to hopefully gain a little bit more popularity, even though he's going to take the pinfall loss. I feel like it's pretty beneficial. Alright, so let's run the show. Looks pretty good for a first one of the episode. And we get a 46 rated angle. Where we have Alexander Robinson essentially introducing Taylor Kidd as one of the new signings in CWC. Unfortunately, Alexander struggled when going off script, but we did get a very good initial rating for Taylor's Weasley heel gimmick, so that's not too bad. We then go into his match, which gets a 28, where we have Spencer Edmund defeating Taylor Kidd in 12:07 by submission with an elevated Boston Crab. And unfortunately, as you can see, Taylor and Spencer don't seem to click, and it made for an awkward bout. So that's a little bit annoying. You know, we have very limited options in regards to matches at the moment. And yeah, they actually performed pretty well, both getting a 25. It's just that sort of negative chemistry will essentially mean we won't be able to do this match. Well, it's not going to be successful if we do try. We then move into another 28, where we have Topher Smith, the current world champion, defeating Murray Firth in 11:36 by pinfall with a Gopher suicide dive. Topher getting a 32 in-ring, Murray with a 24. We then move into a 31 rated angle, where we have Marcel and Canadian Crusher, of course, on debut. Unfortunately, only got an adequate rating for his Crusher gimmick. That's a little bit frustrating. Was hoping it'd be a little bit better, because he does kind of lack some decent skills, if we're being honest. And the main event getting us a 42 rating, where we have Marcel Lafleur and Canadian Crusher defeating Kamikaze and Americana Jr. in just under 20 minutes, when Marcel submitted Americana with a Parisian chicken wing after blatantly cheating. And Kamikaze debuting his show stealer gimmick, getting an initial rating of poor. That seems very strange. That's really unfortunate. Yeah, anyway. Canadian Crusher being the weak link, Marcel with a 42. We also had a 37 there from Kamikaze, and only a 27 from our weak link being Crusher. Not a bad main event though, and that is a pretty good show rating, getting a 39 overall. I think that might have been what we got on the last show of last episode. Not 100% sure, but I feel like it was very close to a 39. Maybe a 38. Alright, so we are going further and further into debt, but as you can see, our momentum's going up. Hopefully with more momentum. We've actually gained a point of popularity over in Manitoba, which is strange. I'm assuming that's from spillover. Let me have a look at show history. Go back to Victory. It was in Ontario. They've all been on Ontario. And that was a 39 as well. So I really just don't understand how that one show didn't gain us popularity. Because this one did, and it was also a 39. Very interesting stuff. Anyway, let's advance a little bit further. I want to get into the next show. I want to try and get to the pay-per-view for this episode. That'd be pretty cool. Of course, these episodes are, you know, they're relatively long, about 50 minutes long. And obviously the show length for the actual shows, it doesn't take very long to book them at this stage of our company. We've essentially just got 3 matches, possibly 2 angles, maybe even 1 for most of the shows. Sometimes it's better to book like that, especially if you want to try and get through things nice and quick. And I kind of do want that. I want us to try and get profitable sort of as soon as possible, so we can, you know, start to hire people that are going to really propel the company forward and allow us to put on some good matches and good pay-per-views overall as well. Now, it is worth mentioning that we can actually get a TV deal in America and Canada on WrestleWorld. Now, WrestleWorld, if you don't know, I'm sure many of you do do know exactly what it is. But it comes into the game in March of this first year, so 2020. And it is, I think, any company that has, I'm not sure if it's 25 or higher, but I think it was 25 popularity in one region can get a broadcasting deal. Now, obviously, essentially every company that is in Canada or the US will essentially do this. Okay, we're actually, yeah, I think this is the Go Home show. So let's get into it. So yeah, we'll be able to get a broadcasting deal relatively early on in the series, which is massive. Anyway, let's do a rib. Let's go for Crusher this time. Unfortunately, unsuccessful. But we are expecting 30 fans for this weekly show. So it is still, it's increasing. Ever so slightly, but it's happening. Alright, so the main event for tonight. Let's go a Topher Smith, Jason Van Pelt main event. Sort of our, I would say, two of our biggest stars in the company. And I want to have Topher pick up the victory here. But basically what's going to happen is there is going to be an interference. Let's go a botched interference. And it is going to be by our boy Marcel Lafleur. So Van Pelt's going to be accidentally hit. And of course, it's essentially not directly going to cause him the match, but indirectly. So there we go. The next match, let's go with Captain Canada and Marcel. It's going to be a nice, easy sort of tune-up match here. Of course, we didn't actually use Captain Canada on the last show, so I want to try and prevent any possible morale issues arising because of that. There's that match. And then finally, let's go another tag team. I know I said I shouldn't be doing it, but I kind of want to try and see if we have any chemistry with anyone, to be honest. So let's go Taylor Kidd and Virgil Voss taking on Kamikaze, and let's go with someone else. Let's go with Spencer. Like I said, I am a pretty big fan of Spencer Edmund, so give Kamikaze the victory. Of course, he did actually lose his debut, so he can win. I don't really care. Hopefully Virgil will take the pinfall there. And can Kamikaze do angles? He can. So let's give him an angle. What about Spencer? I mean, Spencer's passable as well. So what we might do is do an angle with them to kick the show off. So there we go. I think we'll script both of them just so we make sure that the angle is going to be relatively good without being amazing. And then finally, in the main event, let's just go with Marcel cutting an angle onto Topher. And obviously that sort of follows in to the involvement in the main event. I feel like that's a pretty good way to actually finish off the show for our go home show. So we'll make this one a storytelling match. Just a requirement, of course. And let's run the show. So I think this is the go home show. I think our pay-per-view is on Saturday. And we start off with a 35, which is, it's a relatively good rating, considering both these guys are not amazing on the mic. And of course, we essentially just have Kamikaze and Spencer sort of coming together and just, getting on the same page. We'll see if it results in any positive chemistry in the match itself. I mean, it's a good match, getting a 35, but unfortunately no positive chemistry. And we do have Kamikaze and Spencer Edmund defeating Taylor Kidd and Virgil Voss in 11:50, when Kamikaze pinned Virgil with a reverse 450 splash. I mean, it's a good match. Taylor Kidd with a 34 in-ring performance, so he is pretty decent. But good to see Spencer getting up to a 29. I feel like that's pretty beneficial. We actually got 31 people as well. Obviously, the webcam up here, or the camera, does cover up a little bit of that top corner. Doesn't cover up too much, literally just a few letters of the Ontario there. Anyway, moving on to a 37 rated match. This one we actually have great chemistry with, so that's interesting. We have Marcel Lafleur defeating Captain Canada in 11:31 by submission with a Parisian chicken wing. Really good match. Like I said, the great chemistry obviously boosting everything up a little bit. But yeah, Marcel with a 46 in-ring performance. So, you know, there are a few people that said in the first episode that Marcel is essentially a star. And I obviously agree with that in the beginning. But he's really a star. And, yeah, I'm not too sure what we do with this pay-per-view match. It's going to be almost tough not to put the title on him. Alright, so we then go into a 43 rated angle as well, where we have Marcel, who is the only one that is actually rated on entertainment. And of course, he's essentially saying to Topher, you know, watch your back tonight in the main event. And yeah, he improvised well throughout the segment as well. So non-scripted. And he's, at the moment, he's kind of seeming like the MVP of the company so far. And I'm really liking Marcel. Alright, the main event does pretty well. Getting a 41. I mean, both these guys, we kind of expect them to be doing well. And we have Topher Smith defeating Jason Van Pelt in 1956 by pinfall with a gopher suicide dive. During the match, we also had Marcel Lafleur accidentally hit Van Pelt. So yeah, Topher with a 39. Unfortunately, Van Pelt was really off his game, only getting a 33. But yeah, there we go. That's the main event for the Go Home Show. 41's pretty good. As long as our sort of main events stay at that level, we should be fine for quite some time. And that rhymed. Overall show rating getting us a 40, so that's actually better than the last show. And of course, increasing our popularity there, still in the Ontario region. Okay. Let's see. So yeah, Brutal Vengeance 1 is in 2 days. But before we get into that, let's check size. We're actually up. We're up to 3 popularity in Ontario now. And we're also up to 1 pop in Quebec as well. I think Quebec might be the region I know this is talking a long time down the road, but once we try and get to medium size, we need to gain popularity in another region. I think up to 35 for that second. I think we need 59. Well, we would need 59 for Ontario. But basically, the reason behind that is, I know we're talking a little or a lot into the future, but basically the regions, or the way the regions work, so Ontario has a very large 90% fan base, whereas Quebec also has a very large fan base as well, with 85%. However, a lot of the other regions, like this one, is only small 50. I always have trouble pronouncing that name. Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan? I don't know. I'm going to need to practice that. This one here, the Maritimes, is even lower. Extremely small. 25%. So that's pretty ridiculous. Obviously, we wouldn't be going there because the money would be so small and so insignificant. Alberta's got big at 70, which could be pretty interesting. We then got, as you can see, that is the home of CWA. That's why I say it's interesting. We then have 65 for British Columbia, which is also big. And Manitoba is at 60. So, it's interesting. But like I said, that's something for us to worry about sort of much further in the future. Anyway, let's just get... let's have a look at popularity first before we get into the pay-per-view. Let's reset this. And let's have a look at Marcel. So Marcel's up to 29 popularity now. And Topher is only at 23. He actually started at 15. So, you know, he's doing relatively well in regards to his popularity. But what about Marcel? What did he start at? He started even lower. Marcel gained 11 points of popularity in this first month. Well, technically more. So he started at 11 at the beginning of the series. He's now up to a 29. That's 18 points in essentially, well, it's essentially the span of 2 months, but yeah, that's ridiculous. Yeah, like I said, it's going to be interesting. Let's get into this show, though. Get into the Brutal Vengeance. Really like the name of that title for a pay-per-view. And of course, it does have the Roman numerals next to it as well. So Brutal Vengeance 1. And I mean, potentially we could have a new world champion as well. I'm not at this stage in the company. I'm not against, you know, changing champions straight away if we have to. Alright, we got another incident with Murray and Virgil as well this time. He actually caused the incident, so... And, yeah, as you'd expect, Marcel Lafleur, once again. Oh, he's annoyed at my stern warning. Okay, lovely. So does he have morale issues now as well? Not yet. Not yet. Alright, we're expecting 59 fans for this pay-per-view. Obviously, the monthly events, the pay-per-views, if you will, they get a much higher attendance. Alright. Let's do the title match first. Gonna, of course, give it 20 minutes as well. And hopefully we're gonna book it pretty well in regards to the way the rest of the company is going to be run. Let's also do another tag team match. Try and find a little bit more chemistry. Let's go for Van Pelt and Kamikaze this time. I don't want to give a victory there to Van Pelt. And they can take on... Let's go with Crusher and Murray. It's not a bad match. So let's give Van Pelt the victory. He has taken quite a few losses recently. I mean, it'd be pretty sweet if those two actually had chemistry. It would essentially mean that I'd keep Van Pelt around for a little bit longer, essentially. Anyway, last match, let's have Americana take on Taylor Kidd. And I think for this one... Actually, let's give Taylor Kidd a victory. He needs it. He's had 2 losses straight away. I know a lot of you are probably saying, well, Americana has so much more upside. Obviously, I would, 100% agree with that. He's also got higher popularity, but... Actually, let's change that. Let's go with someone else. Let's go with, Virgil. Let's go with Virgil instead. Yeah, there we go. Alright, so this match can be storytelling. And let's book our angles. So, I think we want to let's go with a Marcel angle. Just by himself, and that can go before the main event. Then, what about Kid? Yeah, it's pretty bad on the mic. What about Virgil? I think Virgil's worse. Oh, Virgil's actually... somewhat better. Alright, what we'll do, let's have an angle with Alexander Robinson again. And we'll put Virgil in here, both rated on entertainment. And we will script both of them after what happened last time. Let's also actually advance the storyline. Because obviously Virgil's going to have pretty bad... momentum soon enough. There we go. That is going to be the show, our pay-per-view, for our first Brutal Vengeance. Let's run it. It's a pretty bad... I thought that might have been better. We only get a 36, but obviously that's with Virgil being rated on entertainment as well. And of course, Alexander Robinson essentially talking to Virgil Voss, and it's essentially backstage. with a little sort of video projector, near the ring that obviously the 59 fans in attendance can watch. And it's essentially Virgil asking for a match. And he gets his wish. And we get a 30 rated opening match where we have Taylor Kidd defeating Virgil Voss in 11:43 by pinfall with a 450 degree splash. A 450 degree splash. 400, yeah. Anyway, interesting finisher, considering Kamikaze has a reverse 450 splash. Anyway, they also have great chemistry together, so that's good. So Virgil and Taylor. Who else did we had? We had it was Marcel and Captain Canada. So yeah, we got some good singles chemistry, just lacking in the tag team department. And there we go. Even worse, we go into a 35 rated tag team match where we have Jason Van Pelt and Kamikaze defeating Canadian Crusher and Murray Firth in 12:18 when Van Pelt pinned Canadian Crusher with an axe kick. It always sounds like another word when I say it. The axe kick. But yeah, we had Canadian Crusher really off his game, and Canadian Crusher and Murray Firth have absolutely zero chemistry together as partners. So yeah, negative chemistry as opposed to positive chemistry, which is sort of what we're looking for. I guess it's good to know. It's good to know. Wow. Marcel Lafleur picking up a 52 rated angle already, and he was superb working without a script. Had the crowd in the palm of his hand the entire time. This guy is something special, man. I just really wish he didn't have the sort of negative connotations backstage, because, I mean, I would probably push the guy to the moon, if we're being honest. Even, like, once we're able to hire other wrestlers, so it's a tough one. And our main event getting us a 42, so it's still around the same as what we're sort of getting in our main events. And we have Marcel Lafleur defeating Topher Smith in 20 minutes 29 seconds by submission with a Parisian chicken wing. Marcel Lafleur wins the CWC World title. Yeah, I mean, he's done it, essentially. This match could have actually been better, but yeah, as you can see, Topher Smith was really off his game. So that kind of sucks. Anyway, let's finish the show. And once again, didn't result in any popularity changes. I don't know, it's really confusing me. I have no idea why. I'm very perplexed by that. So we got Virgil, who has morale issues, but let's go with Marcel. And let's go with... who else was pretty good? Let's just go with Kamikaze, I guess. He's one of the new members on the roster. Yeah, once again, no popularity increase. I don't know why. I'm actually confused about that. I can't even think of a reason why. I'm assuming it has something to do with the settings, probably. Let's have a look at the actual company itself. Alright. Maybe it has something to do with that. So show priority, television first. That could be the reason why. Let me change that back to events first. Let's see if that does anything. Okay. So I think that's probably the reason as to why it's happening. Maybe? That's probably my best guess, but I honestly have no idea. You know what? Let's have a look at something else for a second here. let's go back into the editor, and I want to have a look at CWA. So they're television first as well, which I kind of want to be the same as them, if that makes sense. That's a tough one. That is a tough one. Yeah, I'm just not too sure which one we need to be doing. I guess what I will do, let's advance a day here, and I might actually, let's run a separate event. I probably shouldn't have gone to the next event itself. Let's see if I can. Oh, TEW not responding. Perfect. Let's just wait for it. I'm sure it'll come back. There we go. It seems so hard for some reason to stop the multi-advance. And as you can see, it is actually tomorrow night for our next event. How much time? We're only 36 minutes in. So what we'll do, let's book this next show. And then what I'm going to do after that is schedule another monthly event. And we're going to do that monthly event, and I want to see if we get the popularity increase. Just to see if it was that television preference as opposed to the events preference, which we now have on. So let's get into this. I mean, we would essentially be doing this anyway. Also would have been nice. Let's have a look. So we lost... Okay, that's getting better. We only lost 3,400. So that's about a 600 difference. So we're already, as you can see, the ticket sales are up quite a bit, along with the sponsors. So we gained about 400, nearly 400 extra in tickets, and we gained about, what's that? About 750 in additional sponsor money as well. So that's interesting. Very interesting. Actually, we essentially spent more on workers. We spent $500 more on workers as well for that month. So if we hadn't run the tag team matches, we would actually be probably under 3,000. So I think for this month, let's stick to purely singles matches. We might even do a tournament, possibly. We might save that for next month. We'll have to wait and see. Anyway, let's book this generic venue. And let's book this. Oh, we have incidents. I mean, I should expect us to have incidents at this point. Oh, Murray Firth and MARCEL once again. Yeah, spreading rumors about Captain Canada. Anyway, let's try another rib. Yeah, I mean, they're still not really doing anything. It's kind of pointless, I guess, in a way, to be wasting our time with ribs. So, what we want to do in this one, let's have a number one contenders match. Let's do a triple threat. I know what I just said. Let's focus on singles matches, but we'll do one multi-man match. And that's it, I promise, for the month of March. So, let's go with Kamikaze. Let's go with former champion Topher Smith. And let's go with Americana. And we'll give that 20 minutes. And let's actually, I think that's a pretty strong choice there for our next number one contender. I feel like that should be a pretty good match. As far as the other matches go, let's go with Canadian Crusher and Taylor Kidd. And then I think we'll give Kidd the victory. I think Kidd has a decent upside to him, actually. And obviously, Crusher, not so much. So let's make that the storytelling match as well. And finally, let's use someone. So let's go Captain Canada and Spencer. Pretty sure we've done this a couple of times. We've actually never done it. Okay. How is that even possible? Anyway, doesn't matter. Spencer going to get a nice victory there. Captain Canada's pretty bad. He's not bad, but he's just... He's got no entertainment skills. Charisma's pretty low. Psychology's pretty low. Everything else apart from that is pretty good. He's got good basics, some good in-ring skills, really good stamina as well. I feel like he will be really good in the future. But for right now, obviously, Spencer, he's a lot more advanced already. Alright, so that looks pretty good. Let's give angle to... Yeah, let's go Americana with an angle. Could essentially do all three of them. So let's do that instead. Let's go Kamikaze, Topher Smith, and Americana. Do we want to script them? Let's not script them. And of course, let's try and at least make sure the storyline advances because it's pretty important. And then finally, let's go with a Spencer angle as well. Non-scripted. And that looks pretty good, so let's run that show as well. He struggled off script, getting a 31 for Spencer there. A little bit unfortunate. But, you know, he's going to have a bright future anyway. So, yeah, I guess in the future we'll script him. We then go into his match, which gets a 29, where we have Spencer Edmund defeating Captain Canada in 12-11 by submission with an elevated Boston Crab. That's actually a pretty good match for these two. 28 in-ring for Spencer and a 25 for Captain Canada. We then go into a worse match, getting a 27, where we have Taylor Kidd defeating Canadian Crusher in 11:43 by pinfall with a 450-degree splash. And once again, Crusher off his game. Pretty much what you have to expect with him is not very consistent and he's not very good. So yeah, there we go. We then go into a 35 and we actually had Americana struggling without his script here. And yeah, Kamikaze was superb and Topher improvised well. So the one guy that I was going to make, you know, the angle essentially for actually struggled off script, which I find pretty comical. Anyway, the main event should be good. Yeah, I think that's our best ever match rating. We'll get a 44 for this main event. And of course, we have Americana Jr. defeating Kamikaze and Topher Smith in 20 minutes, 24 seconds, when Americana Jr. pinned Kamikaze with an American Crush. Now, I feel like Kamikaze and Americana, they're really going to have a decent sort of feud or storyline with each other. Obviously, they're both faces, so we probably want most of the feud to be happening when we're obviously not using heels or faces, because it would make the most sense. Anyway, we got Kamikaze getting better at his gimmick, which is good because he got a poor initial rating. And he also got a 41 in-ring performance, so not too bad. Both the other guys getting a 39 there as well. Finished the show a little bit lower than our recent sort of Coalition Wrestling weekly shows. Getting a 38 there, so 1 point lower. But still increasing our popularity in one region. So, you know, very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Okay, so what we want to do now, let's go to our schedule, or our events, and we want to add in a new event. For Thursday, let's go for, I guess, let's go Saturday, because that's essentially our normal event time. Let's try an hour, because it could also be, this might be what you guys said in your comment if you left one. It could be the length. I have a feeling it might be the length. I think you might need to be longer than an hour. Possibly for monthly events? I have no idea. In theory, it shouldn't make any difference because we're gaining popularity from 1 hour, you know, weekly events. So going to keep it at 1 hour. Let's just go true test, because obviously we're essentially testing something. And true test is going to be the name of this pay-per-view. Yeah, so Saturday, week 1. I think everything else is fine. Obviously, normal intent. Alright, so let's do that. True test. Going to be in 2 days' time. Let me once again double check the editor. Alright, so it is... Show priority is events first. Okay. Let's see what happens. What I might do... Yeah, there's no real way of sort of testing that. Apart from just seeing after the event. So let's do it. Like I said, I mean, essentially running this show... In theory, we would... we're still going to lose more money than we make, aren't we? Let's book this one really quick. And we might be able to do one last show. One last actual weekly show. Actually, let's do the title match here. We may as well. Seeing as it is essentially a pay-per-view. True test. Alright, so let's double check. Make sure we're in Ontario. Only expecting 35 fans. It was... Hold on, let me go back. Oh, we can't even check it. Oh, that's annoying. Was that... Did I make it a weekly show? Please tell me I didn't make it a weekly show. If I made it a weekly show, I do apologize. Let's just get through it and see what I made it. Alright, so main event. We've still got incidents as well. I should have known. Oh, Murray and Marcel once again. I'm going to go a bit sterner. Let's go for a fine. So Toph is going to be pleased. I mean, nothing happened with Murray there, of course, Van Pelt. Not going to be present for this one either. We are in a generic venue, so let's book. Okay. Main event time. Like I said, we will actually treat this as a proper pay-per-view, I guess. So let's have Marcel taking on Americana for the title. CWC World title on the line. But unfortunately, yeah, it's just not going to be Americana's night, unfortunately. Yeah, only 52 psychology for Marcel. Does he have really good star quality? I mean, it's not that good. It's kind of interesting that he's gaining popularity so quickly. Anyway, next match, let's go for Spencer and... who else? Let's go for Murray. Spencer and Murray. You can kind of see them being a tag team in the future, if I'm being honest. They do look very similar in their renders. Not obviously they don't look similar, but obviously the renders themselves, the actual style of the render is similar. Anyway, I'm talking nonsense now. Let's just get through this. Final match, we'll go Kamikaze and Virgil. Yeah, we'll go Virgil. Okay, so Kamikaze gonna get the win here as well. Possibly might become our next #1 contender as well. We just have to wait and see. Anyway, Marcel gonna do an angle for himself. Hopefully gets another 50. That'd be amazing. And then let's go with Kamikaze as well. Super easy, super simple storytelling match we need for this one. There we go. And we're ready to rock and roll. So please, hopefully this is the issue. Otherwise, we might have a problem. Anyway, start the show. We get a 29 for the angle with Kamikaze. Not very good. He improvised well, so it wasn't exactly the whole non-scripted angle, but yeah, not great. Not a great match either, only getting a 26 for Kamikaze defeating Virgil Voss in 12-20 by pinfall with a reverse 450 splash. Virgil Voss off his game. We then go into a 28, and we have Spencer Edmund defeating Murray Firth in 11:47 by submission with an elevated Boston Crab. And as you can see, both these guys have pretty good chemistry. Not excellent, but pretty good. So another sort of singles match chemistry, which, like I said, I wish it was more tag team, but at the moment we're not even doing tag team matches, so that's fine. Happy with that. It's a pretty good match as well for these two. They're both really young, so can only get better. We then go into a 47, so it's pretty close to the 50 rated angle that I wanted from MARCEL. And of course, he's just essentially boasting at the fact that he is now the CWC, or the Coalition World Champion. I think once again, enjoying the freedom going off script. And the main event, a little bit worse than the recent main events, only getting a 38, where we have Marcel Lafleur defeating Americano Jr. in 2020 by submission with a Parisian chicken wing. And we have Marcel making defense number 1 of the CWC World title. So, let's finish the show, and there we go. We have the increase. So confused on a lot of levels. Okay, so event priority has to be the reason why this happened, because this is even lower than our last two sort of monthly big pay-per-views. And it increased our popularity. Although, but as you can see, it had to be a monthly event because you don't get the speech option from a weekly event. So, I guess I fixed the problem myself. So I do appreciate it if you guys, left a comment on the last episode or on this one. Because of course I was still a bit confused earlier. So for this one, let's go with Americana. Let's go with Virgil again. We'll try and get rid of his morale issues. And finally, let's go for Spencer. Yeah. Like I said, I'm a big fan of Spencer. I think he's going to have a decent future with our company. There we go. That was true test. And it was, definitely a test to see if we can gain our popularity from our pay-per-views, which we now can. So there we go. Okay, let's have a look. Do we go up? We're still at 3 pop in Ontario, which is fine. I am going to end the episode here, so I'm kind of glad we figured that problem out. Let's just double check. I want to have a look at Spencer. He's up to a 21 popularity. Kamikaze's at 19. Americana's at 24. Who else? Topher's at a 26 now, so he actually went up despite losing the title. And finally, Marcel is at a 30 popularity and has hot momentum as well. So he's doing really well. The title actually gained a point of prestige as well. That's impressive. The slow rise up to getting the CWC World Champion or Championship title up to a decent or respectable prestige level will be another interesting thing for us to go through with this series. Anyways, guys, like I said, that's going to be the end. If you could smash a like on the video, it'd be much, much appreciated. Of course, the recent support on the first 2 episodes. I mean, obviously the second one hasn't come out yet, but the first episode, I think in the first day and a half, it reached 30 likes already. So, honestly, can't thank you enough, guys. Hopefully you're enjoying the series. I'm enjoying playing it, as you can probably tell. But I just want to get the financial situation under control so we can start bringing in, the workers that you guys suggest and that I want to bring in as well. Because that's, like I said, sort of going to be the place where we start to, skyrocket and essentially, move up the ranks and up in size, of course, which is the most important thing of the series. Anyways, guys, make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. And of course, turn on the bell notifications as you'll be notified when these episodes come out. Of course, I am starting to post a community post a few hours or quite a few hours before the episodes actually go up, just as a little reminder. Hopefully you guys might see them a little bit easier in the future as well. Because sometimes I know the notifications, even if you have the bell turned on, sometimes they don't work as they are supposed to. Anyways, apart from that, guys, as always, take it easy and goodbye.